30 seconds to Mars. Now that would be booking right along. 25 minutes from now will be 9 o'clock. And in 2.5 days, it's going to be summer. I'm looking forward to it. Mike Barrett with us from Barrett Insurance Agency. Mike, good morning.
I just got your 30 seconds to Mars joke. It took me, went over my head, did a little spin, came back, and boom, hit me in the head. It was good.
And you're halfway through your cup of coffee?
Oh, yeah. No, that's 3/4 of the way. I'm in trouble.
30 seconds to Mars.
Yeah.
That's booking.
That is, yeah. See,
they got it.
Took a second.
All right, Barrett Insurance Agency, Portland Street in St. Johnsbury is where you'll find Mike and the crew to take care of all of your insurance needs. And, we hear an awful lot. We've talked about it a lot in the past, Mike. Insurance, it's a necessary evil. You got to have it. It's money nobody wants to spend, right?
Right.
So people spend, and I'm not kidding you. I did it myself when I got my license back. I shopped for, I can't even tell you how long, online, calling folks, trying to find insurance because 25 cents here, $1.50 there. I mean, it was such a big deal to me.
Right.
Where I'm going with this is people spend an awful lot of time trying to trim their budget down, and a lot of times they try to do it with their insurance like every other year. Is that a good thing?
It can be an advantage to you to do that, and it can also be a disadvantage. But what we find is that when the budget starts to get shrunk in a little bit and you got to pull in the reins, certainly the cable companies and the satellite companies get that first phone call of, hey, what can you do? Oh, we don't want to lose you. We'll knock it down $40 a month. Well, why didn't you do that before? But can you tell I've done that?
Yep.
And then, if you have life insurance, a lot of times the life insurance might become something that you get rid of. A lot of reasons not to. Remember, with a life insurance policy, you're buying it at the age that you started the policy, and that's the rate you're paying. So if you do cancel that and decide, all right, now I've got money again, I'm going to start up another policy.
And it goes up.
Now you're getting rated on your current age and health situation, which could have changed from the first time. So that's one that you really should, if you're going to spend any time really dialing in what's an appropriate cost, your life insurance is probably one to spend the most amount of time on just understanding and figuring how it makes sense to your budget to stay for as long as you need it. And then auto and home. And, business insurance, don't touch it. Because businesses,
don't do that.
You have to have
No.
it. I have a lot of contractors who, I don't have any work, I'll just cancel. Don't do that. It's better to keep the policy in place because insurance is a lot like when you're a single man, nobody wants to date you. But the second you have a girlfriend, everybody's calling your name. Nobody wants to date you if you have no insurance.
It's true. Well, okay, let's use an example here. I'm
and the same goes for a woman who has a
Okay.
It goes both ways.
There you go. Cover yourself,
Please.
So, for example, let's use say a landscape company. Okay. You're not going to be doing a lot of landscaping in the wintertime, right? You're not going to be doing flower beds and gardens and rototilling and all of that stuff. So Joe, John, Rita, whoever you want to call for by name here, they're not busy. They're not working.
Right.
Their truck's sitting, their mower's sitting, their trailer's sitting. They live in Kirby on a dirt road, in the woods.
Yeah.
A tree falls.
So many things can happen.
Okay, yeah.
So many things can happen because a lot of times you are covering your tools, your equipment, and beyond that, the liability, your products and completed operations, you want to not have a gap in that coverage.
Well, also, too, they may have if it's a smaller business, 4 or 5 guys and gals on a crew or whatever, they have a home office.
Yeah.
And that home office is a business office, and that is insurance. If you have a fire.
There's a lot. Oh, yeah. There's always going to be a gray something or other that occurs is that going to be properly covered if you've let something lapse? Do you want to play that game? Do you want to take that chance? It's really a gamble, and you don't want to find out the hard way.
You used an example about you use the satellite companies and cable TV and stuff like that, right? They cut your bill $40.
Yeah.
Well, in the past, I've done this. I've stayed within state law requirements. Okay?
Uh-huh.
I have switched my automotive insurance from full coverage to liability.
And you can
save
do that.
money.
And you can do that. You can do all kinds of things to bring the bill down. You can look and say, well, when I bought my homeowner's policy for my home, I thought a $250 deductible or a $500 deductible was all I could handle. Well, maybe now you could think of, well, all these years I've had these little incidents occur that I never called the insurance company. So why am I carrying a low deductible? Because I took care of it myself. So maybe it's time to consider a $1,000 or a $2,500 or a $5,000 deductible. At least see how it could impact your cost. So versus getting rid of something or shopping, because maybe you are happy with the company you're with, see what changes you can make to your existing policy. If you don't have dissatisfaction with where you're at, that's your starting point. It's always going to be your starting point to see, make sure your policy is it. Because what I find often is when people look, a lot of people just look at the price and that's it. They don't pay attention necessarily to the coverage they have. And I'm talking home, auto, whatever the case may be. And they just start shopping. Well, then they're shopping potentially apples to oranges because you may have 250,000 bodily injury per person, 500,000 bodily injury per accident for liability on your auto policy, and now you're out quoting 50,000, 100,000. And sure, it's going to be a better price. Maybe the company that you're quoting with isn't giving you medical payments coverage while you have a $10,000 limit on your current policy. Boom. Again, apples to oranges. So really the biggest thing, it's paramount to do this, is to see what you have for coverage. A lot of times when people are shopping, I'll ask them what they have and they don't know. And I oftentimes will say, look, get your current policy, use that as a reference, or give me a copy of it, and we'll quote and give you a comparison that's fair to what you currently have so that we're not putting you in a bad situation. Lowering liability is not necessarily something I recommend.
No, definitely not. Well, and some folks too, they're like, oh, he just wants to see what I've got. Well, no, it's like, okay, we just went through the car buying experience, Dawn and I. Okay?
Yes,
and
we are the opposite of that. Just so you know,
we were looking at two vehicles. They were very, very similar. There was a little bit of price difference. So where I'm going with this, the apples and oranges. It was the same car,
right?
But it didn't have the same options, and so obviously the difference in the price,
right? But even if it was the same car, there could be a difference in the price because with jewelry and cars and a lot of these items out there that are bigger ticket items, even television, which is a commodity, that is something that there is room to play with the price. There's always going to be room to play with the price. But if you call me up and say, no, there's no way you can see what I'm currently paying because you're just going to, try to be a little less than that. No, what we quote is what we quote. The rates are what they are. If you're ever able to call an insurance carrier and say, hey, look, I'm not happy, and they lower your prices because maybe they found a credit that you didn't have applied to your policy that you may be eligible for. Maybe you're a non-smoker and now there's a non-smoking credit available. Or maybe you've had no claims in the last 3 years. I mean, maybe some companies used to give hybrid credits if you have a hybrid vehicle. I haven't seen that so much anymore. But, there are those things at play where it's a definitive. And so it's not them just playing with a pencil. And they're not sharpening pencils back at the insurance carriers, and nor are we. The rate really is what the rate is.
Well, and then there's loyalty, too. I know that there's some companies out there that'll give you loyalty discounts if you've been with them for X number of years and stuff. But really, the only way to find out is to call or to stop in and ask.
Right. And the one thing I will say, based on your loyalty comment, is that loyalty thing can be a really good thing. Because let's look at it this way. And I've said this numerous times, and I'll say it all the time. If you get an auto policy and you've had it for 6 months and you get into an accident, now let's compare it to you've had the same insurance company for 3 years or more and you get into an accident. How is it going to be handled on both ends? Well, you get some loyalty and experience of not having had claims with the 3 year or more policy. So that's going to be more favorable than, man, we've only had this person for 6 months and now we're cutting a big check, So that's something to think about too, that you don't necessarily want to switch because the law of averages,
Exactly.
You want to remember that there is that possibility that an accident could occur. So really it has to be a thoughtful process. That's the recommendation I'll throw out there.
Well, I tell you what, when it comes to money, I put a lot of thought into it.
I put a lot of thought into it too. Yes.
Tell them how to get in touch with you, Mike.
You can give us a call, 748-5224. We're located on Portland Street in St. Johnsbury in the same building as Beacon Realty. You can also find us online, thebarrettagency.com, Google, Facebook, and YouTube, all Barrett Insurance Agency.
And on Tuesday mornings at 8:35 right here on Magic.
Absolutely.
Did you have a good Father's Day?
Had a great Father's Day. Had a great Relay for Life, too, by the way.
Oh, we'll chat that next week.
All right.
All right, coming up, music for you from Chris Allen.